The views and opinions of the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
You have to be strong in today's world. Keep your focus and what you believe in, how to achieve all your dreams. Keep moving forward, never accept less than who you are. Live your best life. Be strong and free. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back.
The Hit Back with Nahaja Black is sponsored by the Cancer Treatment Centers of America, Dwayne Sands of Elizabeth Estates, Baja Retreat and Spa, Mario Woodside, Nassau Motor, and the Progressive Liberal Party.
Good afternoon, Bahamas, and welcome to the Hit Back. I'm your host, Nahaja Black. It is a beautiful day here in the 242. I hope you are doing well, taking care of yourself, living your best life today. We got a good show for you today. My good Dr. Gilbert Morris, mentor, will be joining us again. Definitely, we left a cliffhanger yesterday on the show, so looking forward to having him join us. Also, we're going to have an independent candidate, Mr. Mario Woodside, for Nassau Village, joining us at the 5:30 mark. Really excited to have another independent candidate joining us on the show. I really am looking forward to what I think will be a far more diverse House of Assembly. I'm looking forward to that. But before we go further, something interesting, of course, you know, with COVID-19, the emergency orders, the powers, etc. We've been having, we see the all of these orders that come through, right? And this afternoon, an emergency order came through to all media and everyone else who's in the know. You get the emergency orders. And it's a lot of legalese. So most times I need a lawyer to really translate what I'm reading. But today in particular was interesting because most of us aren't really following these orders anymore. You can't follow the orders. They kind of make it difficult to follow the orders. Because of the fact that they're disjointed. So you'll just see an order or something changed within an act, or not an act, but within these emergency orders. So this regulation here is changed. They'll cite it, but it's not in its full part within the order itself. So any changes to the regulations itself. So we'll have to go back and look at what those regulations were, what subsection, et cetera, et cetera. So there is this part here. Well, today, I'm going to read it to you, and I should have downloaded it for everyone who's watching online so that you could see it clearly. But I thought it was interesting because it made me pause, and I had to call around, right? I had to call around. Because one thing we know is that we no longer have an active or acting, we have no parliament, right? So there is no more debating. There is no more conferring, bringing or laws or legislation. All of that is done away with. Right? All of that is done away with because we have dissolved the House of Assembly. The Prime Minister, the Cabinet Minister still function in their job, but there is no laws that can be made or what we would possibly understand and know is even amended because there's no act that can be amended outside of Parliament. That's at least what we have grown accustomed to knowing. So today was the first time and I spoke with my colleagues, I called around, was the first time that we have under these powers seen an act, not just any act, but a parliamentary registry act being amended, and there's no House of Assembly. An act, period, being amended. It's not an emergency powers regulation, but it's an act itself. And we are amending acts today. Mind you now, the amendment is not something that's nefarious, but it leads to a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions around this amendment. But the question of how is an act being amended? There is no parliament. And this is all within the emergency powers. 1. 2, is this allowed? Can the emergency powers actually amend a legal act without parliament there to legislate, debate, and vote on an amendment that is an act, in particular, the Parliamentary Elections Act. So 2, 3, why was there no real sort of come to the public and address the magnitude of this in terms of the powers being able to do so if legal? Maybe having your AG explain it, but to throw it out there so nonchalantly as if this is not something to be concerned about. Because ladies and gentlemen, why it would be concerning, even if legal. See, this is why the emergency powers are very concerning, right? Because if the emergency powers gives the competent authority the ability to amend acts without the parliament even existing, that's a lot of power to give someone by edict. I mean, just because he says so, then that's something you can do without the accountability of a House of Assembly. We can do this. This is the power of the emergency powers. Very concerning, and one that should have been explained even better. And in particular, even the situation for which this newfound this thing is happening, right? This is very concerning. And this is one of those things where we laymen would not understand this, would not know this. The layman, the citizenry would not know that this is some sort of concerning, someone said it's called living in a dictatorship. But it's very concerning that by just edict, right? That's how it feels. Like, because he says so, the competent authority, we don't go unchecked. This is the whole thing. I need y'all to understand this, because even when I read this to you, we're gonna need to translate it. I tried as possible, as quickly as possible, to try and get a lawyer on. I spoke to a few because it's political season, and these are not partisan attorneys. They don't want to really say what they have to say, which I think, and there was short notice to it, so I'll give them that. But we spoke in length, spoke with my colleagues. So this is very much something that I think that it needs to be explained to us, and legally having an understanding of how in the world this can be done, right? Like, how can this be done? Okay, so here we have it. This order may be cited as the Emergency Powers COVID-19 Pandemic Management and Recovery Special Provisions Amendment Order 2021. Insertion of new Order 8 into the principal order. All right. The principal order is amended by the insertion immediately after Order 7 of the following. So now you got to go back, see what the original order is, and then follow, because these are disjointed. And one of those things that's hard to follow. Then they put, what is this point 8? So this is 8, right? So insertion of new Order 8. This is a new order being inserted into the principal order. Okay. Parliamentary Elections Act. First thing, bang, 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 because this is named amendment. Amendment, meaning we're changing a law, right? Don't you need Parliament for that? Apparently not, because these emergency powers give this sort of leeway, right? Okay, for the purpose of the advanced poll to be held in Barbados on the 9th day of September 2021. For persons voting as overseas voters pursuant to Section 49A1 of the Parliamentary Elections Act, Chapter 7, the circumstances requiring the designated presiding officer to be quarantined in Barbados by the pandemic restrictions of that country and not available on that day shall be deemed to be circumstances beyond the control of the presiding officer, which make it impractical to take the poll on the designated date. So we can pause there. What that is saying is, listen, the circumstances requiring the designated presiding officer to be quarantined in Barbados by the pandemic has sort of kind of ruined our timeline, right? It's a circumstance outside of their control, the presiding officer's control. So the presiding officer, based on this, only pontificating on what the circumstances really are, using context clues from this act, because there was no press statement. No press statement saying that, listen, we have an issue with the presiding officer. Maybe we missed the fact that there is a quarantine time and the officer now has to go into quarantine, missing the date of the advanced poll. Y'all just catch that. Like, we totally ain't even organized enough to, before we call these things, before we prorogue and dissolve and all of that stuff, that these things are in order, because We don't run government. We play house with the people's stuff. But anyways, so which make it impractical to take the poll on the designated date. Sound like they gonna change. Then it goes to part 2 of 8, Parliamentary Elections Act. Section 50 of the Parliamentary Elections Act, Chapter 7, is hereby modified for the purposes of paragraph 1, as if a reference to the words continue the taking of the poll on that day, he may adjourn the proceedings until the following day. The Parliamentary Elections Act to say that, in essence, because we have the situation that is out of the control of the officiating officer, that we are going to change the act, the Parliamentary Elections Act, to allow for voting the following day. Okay. But we're amending an act without a parliament. We're doing laws, we're fixing laws outside of the guise or even the rules of parliament, because parliament really, with this lopsided parliament, would have voted through anyway. But nonetheless, and I don't say that this is nefarious, My issue though, anybody watched the Netflix series, how to become a tyrant, how to make a tyrant? Started watching that last night. Didn't even consider that it would come through as just something that you would connect with even this morning, today. One of those things are the insidious changes to laws, and not insidious meaning that I don't believe that they're trying to be fair. I think that this is the situation and the government has to make allowances. However, we are doing these things outside of the supervision of parliament. And the fact that the emergency orders, if so legal, allows this level of movement by one person. Very, very concerning. What other amendments could be done under the guise of the emergency orders? As Bahamians, we should be very concerned, and I think we should make sure that they know we see this, and that there should be some sort of information given to the public. What exactly happened in Barbados? Did we not know that there would be a quarantine or mandatory quarantine? Is that what's happening? Are these not the things that you do before you call? Now we are going to use, this is the first time we're seeing acts amended outside of part. This is crazy because I was like, what? We can do this? And for me, ladies and gentlemen, you don't, every seed, every tree has a beginning. Everything starts with a seed. And if we don't call it, and if we don't say something, even if this administration loses office, the next government will come in believing that it's okay to be the superpower, to be a government unto yourself. That is very concerning. It doesn't matter who's in, you should not be able to do this. But it's a wartime thing. And my colleague said it's a wartime. This Emergency Powers Act is a wartime sort of thing. So that and I'm using his words almost exactly, if we were at war and the prime minister, the competent authority needed to call to arms so we can fix the penal code so that you can go into arms and not go to jail because you need to take up arms, that's the purpose of it, right? But now we're using the emergency orders and just adjusting an act. Let's start at the beginning. This should not be happening. And worse, it's happened without consultation to the public, without saying this is the situation. So it doesn't seem as if we're just using our powers willy-nilly. But the fact that you can amend an actual act that was debated and passed in the House of Assembly, outside of a House of Assembly existing, without any cursory observation, is very concerning. So someone said, Nahaja, please recap. So here's the situation for those who are just tuning in. Again, I don't understand, but I see, based on what we read in the emergency powers, this document that came to us today, is that there has been amended by himself through the emergency powers, the Parliamentary Elections Act, to give room for the officiating officer who went to Barbados, based on this, what we're getting from this, the officiating officer who went to Barbados And there's no cover letter, so we're just reading it, trying to decipher what is being said within this act. Because the officiating officer may be in quarantine past the day of election, of advanced poll election. So by edict, and that's what it is, because he said so, we can actually make amendments to laws? That is very concerning, y'all. And then it brings the question, what else can be amended? But see, now, is it because, and the question, and of course, because it's an emergency powers, is this okay because it is quarantine because of COVID? And attorneys, I'm trying to, and the worst is that we're just given this without any sort of context. We don't even know what really happened. Like, how did you not know there would be a quarantine if that's the situation? Aren't these things that you plan out before you call an election? Before you call an election, these things should be planned out. And if it's a 2-week quarantine, how are we just doing, like, how? So that you don't have this. I'm very concerned, y'all. I'm sorry, there's no way I can cover this. I'm very concerned when one person can, by edict, amend a law when there is no House of Assembly. And so I think that there's questions that should be answered. Now, mind you, I don't believe that, and why I say I don't believe it's nefarious, but I do believe that seeds beget trees. And this is something that no government should have unless it is really like how. And so this is so much things that I need to learn. There's so much that I need to understand, because now we're talking about amending laws without a House of Assembly. And I think that these are questions, or even when you sent it out, that should have been explained fully, right? Fully. It doesn't affect the other country. The emergency orders doesn't affect the other country. Someone asked. The emergency order in this instance is to enable our officiating officer. So what is seemingly going on is that because of advanced polls, we have, wherever persons' behemoths are, you give allowances for them to vote. And our officiating officer, we think they may have flown over based on the orders. We don't know, right? And so we think that they flew over. They might be in quarantine, because now we're talking about the ability for them to hold the advanced poll the day after that date, right? So even the question of logistics and how does that happen, and amending the Parliamentary Elections Act to compensate for poor planning, I'm very concerned with that. I won't lie to you. I am very concerned with that. And I think that there should be answers to what is going on here. Will there be any more of these? And of course, I think we have 2 more weeks, or 9 days of government. I'm not saying that the government is trying to do anything nefarious. My concern is many would not know that these are the powers within the act. And how does this feel to you? Because I don't feel too good about it. My eyebrows are up, and my ears are perked. I'm listening. I don't like this amount of power now. I don't like it. I ain't gonna lie to you. Don't give me comfort. We got a call on the line. Caller, you're on the hit back. Welcome.
Hey, good afternoon, Nahaja. How you doing?
I'm doing well, and you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Interesting analysis on the emergency orders. Although I don't agree that the Prime Minister, of the competent authority, as much as incompetent as he has been, possesses the authority to do what you were suggesting. I'm curious. I want to ask you a question, then I want to make a comment. I'm a former Chief Justice who normally participates on your show. Did you have a discussion with her regarding?
I tried to call. I tried to call. So I really wanted to get that from, because that's what when I spoke to lawyers, Anton, they said no. I spoke to some lawyers and said, no, he's not allowed to. And then others were like, one said, perhaps there's that loophole that it can be worked in that fashion. The 2 that I spoke to that said no unequivocally, called it an edict and something that should be very much challenged legally. and the other said that there is wiggle room in it. So that's where we are. But I was trying to reach the date.
Okay. Well, it'll be good in my view to have such a constitutional scholar or someone who has such a very great depth of understanding of the law and the Constitution to be able to navigate such an important conversation. But as it relates to what the opposition is, and our constitutional scholar on the matter, or one of them, being QC Damian Gomez, it is impossible for the rather incompetent authority to do what they are seeking to do, which we already saw where they are trying to go. And but even beyond that, can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you. I'm listening.
Even beyond that, there's a bigger concern, and that bigger concern is it appears as though we have a prime minister that is the competent authority that is prepared to stoop to any immoral, to any unethical means to try and gain an advantage over the Bahamian people in a general election where he is the person who talks about integrity, who talks about transparency, who talks about accountability, who talks about consultation, who talks about showing respect to the Bahamian people. And so I hope the Bahamian people take this as a great lesson and give him what he really deserves, which is one seat out of this general election, because it's wicked and downright completely unethical. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate the call. Say one seat. Something interesting someone said, and we'll go to break, was that Barbados' quarantine is 3 days. See, and that's what I again, didn't have much time to really solidify all of this. But if Barbados' quarantine is 3 days, then the story is there something else to the story? But we're not getting any information. And I think the fact that you just slipped this in to the media and not thinking that we would ask that an amendment to a Parliamentary Elections Act is not something warranting a little bit more discourse when we're amending acts when there is no parliament. One person can do this, called the competent authority. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. We will be back right after this.
Hello, Bahamas. My name is Dr. Dwayne Sands. I was born and raised in Centerville, in the heart of the valley, Nassau, Bahamas. I'm a proud Bahamian. I've been fortunate to represent the great people of Elizabeth for the last 5 years. It has always been my dream to serve my country, and I have been involved in the political process on the front line since 2009. I am very, very proud of the support of my family, who have been with me from the beginning and who are still with me to this day. In particular, my wife, Larica, and all of my children, and actually there's quite a few of them. I'm actually a cardiovascular surgeon. What that means is I take on the sickest people with the biggest problems every day. And so for me, the political process to deal with the challenges facing our country is pretty much par for the course. It's what I do every day. I am happy to be a part of the great team of the Free National Movement under the leadership of Dr. Hubert Minnis. We are indeed Elizabeth strong.
This has been a paid political announcement by the F&M candidate for Elizabeth.
Sugar, sugar, let's get sugary. Softer, smoother, and amazing skin. Oh, sugar, sugar, we're the sugar ladies. Giving you skin soft as a baby's. Goodbye, hair, we'll take good care of you.
Come visit us at Baja Retreat Spa on East Bay Street. Contact us at 323-6711 or visit us online at www.bajaretreat.com.
When I had got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number. They see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
This traffic report is brought to you by Shield Insurance and Prudential Loss Adjusters.
In my first look at traffic this afternoon, we can see that getting through the Samaila Highway and the Tony's Million Dollar roundabout is a hassle from either side on Tony's Million Dollar. There's that hefty single lane back to from JFK that's coming in on the west side of the roundabout there. And then on the east side, you've got Tony's Million Dollar dual lanes that are backed up. They're stacked in a slow ride getting through the circle as well. The roundabout further east at the Blue Hill Road intersection, it's busy. And the other one at East Street and Independence Drive, it's busy as well. However, the delays there to get through are minor compared to what we're seeing over there at Sabala and Tony's Million Dollar. The Blue Hill Road and Carmichael Road intersection in the south, now they're busy. You're riding the brakes of the entire area to get through Carmichael Road or to continue along Blue Hill Road. It's tight up in there. It's quite active in both directions. Then also when you look at East Street, anything south of Soldier Road there, headed towards Pinewood or South Beach, busy in both lanes. Kind of active in that area. Inner City Wolf Road and areas like Angleton and Baintown, they're all reeling from rainwaters that flooded the streets. So it's making driving in those areas a lot slower. However, rainy weather is still in our forecast for today, and some areas are subject to receive some minor downpours again today. This Nassau Traffic Report, service of Dr. Danny Johnson and Associates at Foot and Ankle International, who's offering the simplest and safest treatment for painful flat feet, bunions, hammer toes, sports medicine, and more. Visit Foot and Ankle International for relief. They're located Dean's Lane atop the hill at Fort Charlotte. Call them at 322-5402. That's 322-5402 for more info. Get the Riders Guy look at traffic in real time. I'm VA-double-N.
Michael was in a horrible car accident. Prudential Loss Adjusters managed his claim and got him the settlement he deserved. Sierra's roof received hurricane damage. Thanks to Prudential, she and her kids are happy with their claim settlement. Tammy fractured her ankle in a slip and fall. Prudential saved her time, money, and peace of mind. Prudential Loss Adjusters are here for you whenever a tragedy strikes. Call 322-4026 now.
Don't wait for disaster to strike. This hurricane season, be ready. Protect your home with an affordable and comprehensive home insurance policy from Shield Insurance. You can't control what nature blows your way, but with Shield Insurance, you can rest easy as you ride out the storm. Protect your largest and most valuable investment. Don't take a chance. Put your home in our hands.
Shield Insurance agents and brokers in Nassau. Call 356-7202 or Freeport 352-5945.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
It's the hit back with Nahaja Black. It's the hit back with Nahaja Black. It's the hit back with Nahaja Black. It's the hit back with Nahaja Black.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Looking for information on this, and I'll keep you all abreast of any statement that the Prime Minister makes with regards to not as anything with regards to what this executive order, this emergency order is, that we are amending acts outside without a parliament, and the power of the emergency orders, very concerning. With no oversight, we can just by his declaration, and these emergency powers should have been done away with before now. Just for the record, what was promised was that they would be done away with. What has been called for is that they be done away with. There's just too much power given, and it's been going on for 18 months. But now we see, and we're learning in this process, that there is even more power vested in the competent authority that we even knew. And I think that that is where the concern comes, and that this is something we cannot have stand, regardless of who is in office, regardless of who wins. This is something where we need to pay attention as the people and say, hey, not this. We barely have accountability and transparency in the country, barely, because still we have heard nothing with regard to the cases and the not cases, but the documentation, the actual written evidence. That would be very much a scandal if this was the Progressive Liberal Party, but that has gone somewhat under the radar by some areas of society, right? But that we don't even have automatic systems where regardless of whose side you are on, if things look untoward, if things look untoward, that automatic things happen, automatic moves by the police force, commissioner of police, the attorney general. We need things where folks are actually independent. We need the separation of the executive and the legislature and the judiciary. We need separation. So when there were calls saying that you cannot appoint judges, that was not partisan, that was Bahamian. When there are calls that said that the speaker must remain impartial, that is not partisan, that is Bahamian. When there is any form of impropriety, any form of malfeasance, it is not good enough to tell the world that we're corrupt, but do nothing about it when it's in your own house. You can't look at somebody else. The Bible says you got to take the speck out of the plank out of your own before you can talk about taking the speck out of someone else's. You can't say they're going to jail, but you won't even acknowledge that something is unseemly in your own camp. You will go to bat for other people's children, but yours are starving. You will weep for someone else. And when we are asking you to build tiny homes instead of the domes, we don't hear much. This isn't politics. This is people, man. And for me, when you get to the point where we're coming to the end, I have lost, for me, I need transparency and accountability. It is not something that is a brochure. This ain't a rally ticket and cry. I've stopped trusting governments in this country for decades. I don't trust anything that they say. I don't believe in no campaign slogan. Because once they get in, 9 times out of 10, the culture of corruption that they left and handed the baton to the other guys, they go right back in and continue that culture. That's why I believe that I really would have began to believe in this administration if they actually kept a few of their words at the beginning. I could say that those were seeds you planted to give me a result now. When you came in, and I see my guest there, and I'm going to get to my good guest in a minute, Dr. Gilbert Morris. But just as a note, before I get to Dr. Gilbert Morris, how could you tell me that the cupboard is bare? You took weeks to show up to the house. The cupboard is bare, and then you ask for a raise. That's okay. How can you say that, hey, its VAT is regressive, but the next thing you know, we're increasing it? How could you tell me that you're interested in our interests, but one of the first things you try to do is to implement the World Trade Organization, knowing full well that the trading regime benefits the few who have something to trade? It would adversely affect quite a large majority of the Bahamian populace, because the Bahamian populace is not given the tools to succeed in the WTO. I'm not against free trade. We are a country that already does free trade. What I'm against is not giving the Bahamian citizenry the tools necessary to succeed in a world that is free to trade. How do you say that we can trust your word when you marched with us against the spy bill, but when you come in, now it is the Communications Act? You don't even want to call it the spy bill. How am I supposed to trust your word and believe that you are for the people when it seems as if the interests of a few get taken over the majority? And so even when you do good, I don't trust the good you do, because I believe that the good is a sleight of hand which to do. But if you planted seeds that were good at the beginning, it would have given you a harvest and more grace. And so I always think that, I smile when people say, Nahaja, well, you need to be fair. I am fair. But the truth is, you want the scales to stay balanced, when for many, the scales have tipped in the other direction a long time ago. I can't paint a picture that ain't there. I got joining me, though, someone who I consider to be one of the greatest minds in this country and in the world, and who I think is sorely underutilized in this country, And that is none other than, again, my mentor, someone I greatly respect and admire, one of the smartest people I will ever get to know. And he still owes me more connections, though. I tell him, I'm supposed to have already met the Sheikh of Dubai by now. I'm supposed to already meet the guy, my good friend and mentor, the one and only Professor Gilbert Morris. Doc, what you say?
Hello there. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Your volume is a little low. I don't know. Can you switch it a bit? Maybe we're sitting and I hear some feedback.
Is it low?
Oh, that's better.
Is that better?
Well, a little questionable. Maybe I should get you on the phone. Maybe I should get you on the phone line.
Yeah. That's not better either.
Let's go. We'll go with that for now. Yeah. So let me ask you, Doc. I want to ask you this question, so I give you a chance just to have the floor. Yesterday, when we ended our discussion, you ended with, you talked about how COVID-19 presents challenges for the world, not just the Bahamas, but for the world. But we, as the Bahamas, must approach COVID-19 as if we are. And you didn't say this, but this is what I took from it: that we are larger than the world, with a mind that is innovative, with a mind that sees our issue and then projects our success to the world by solving our issue in such a succinct and prudent and innovative way that it even makes us look better in the world. And one of the things, and how you ended your thought process yesterday on that topic, was that the challenges we face are X, and the main one is, or not the main one, but the challenge we face with solving COVID-19 is leadership. And I want to start there with you, that thought on COVID-19 and leadership.
Well, one of the things which I think is prudent is this discussion that you've been having about the protocol in respect of the elections. I have to say that when I first spoke with you on COVID-19, when the emergency powers first came out in 2020, I had said to you that I thought they were unconstitutionally drawn. And that, in fact, our Constitution does not permit any leader under any circumstances to have absolute power. It doesn't. It provides for an ombudsman facility. And if you took Bishop Gomez and Maurice Clinton and Ruth Miller and people like that, you put them on an ombudsman committee, then that committee would have the power to override the competent authority. Because under our constitutional model, there must always be oversight. The second element of that was very important, and I discussed this with you, was that we should have used the Eugene Depute Law School, and if you added 100 students to that ombudsman committee to do all the research, you would actually be giving your young lawyers the best training they could ever have to prepare them for work in the society as future legal scholars and so on. So you remember Mrs. Clinton and all those young, brilliant lawyers, right?
Mm-hmm.
All those young, brilliant lawyers, those lawyers got their training on Watergate.
Yeah.
On Watergate.
Yeah.
Training. So our failure to enact this sort of process is an example of our tendency to refuse to do things that increase the quantum of democracy in our system and fail to engage young people in a meaningful way beyond.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm afraid I have to be a little bit saucy here. But I've seen C.A. Nuri say it all the time, something about trapsiness or something.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm afraid I have to be with that because even the sitting Chief Justice is not someone who can enact this kind of broad constitutional play, because in his entire career, he has never defended the Constitution. He has never put himself out there on a constitutional issue to defend the propriety of the Constitution.
Hold that thought, Doc. Hold that thought, because what I want us to do too, we got a little bit of technical issues on your side, and on top of that, your audio is a bit distorted. So we'll take a quick break, and hopefully we can get that resolved really quickly. Keep your phone there. All right, you're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja, Black Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. We will be back right after this.
Hospitals are collapsing. Doctors say our healthcare system is past the breaking point. Nurses disrespected. Not enough beds or resources. Now, this government is really benefiting from millions in COVID contracts, hiding who profits from travel visas, from food assistance, from COVID testing fees. So while healthcare collapsed, who got rich? The F&M can't fix the crisis. They are the crisis.
This has been a paid political announcement by the PLP.
Looking for a roomy SUV that's affordable? Take a look at the new Chevrolet Traverse. It seats up to 8 and is ranked best in class for cargo space. Its spacious interior design offers the latest features to keep you and your family entertained. What's more, you'll get up to a 5-year, 100,000-kilometer factory warranty along with Chevrolet's superior engineering and safety record. So, test drive the new Chevrolet Traverse today at Nassau Motor Company on Shirley Street, where standards are higher.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
And we're back. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja, Black Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Let's see if we got Doc sorted out. Doc, you there? All right, so we might have some technical issues with Dr. Gilbert Morris. Hopefully we'll get that resolved quickly. So if you're just tuning in, and Doc, when he's in, he'll just let us know that he's sorted out and we'll be able to get it resolved there. Dr. Gilbert Morris talking about I think it was so interesting. He said, folks need to be able to defend the Constitution. So even challenging the Chief Justice there and saying, has he ever really saying that he's never challenged the Constitution? What we started off the show with was this whole idea that we have an emergency order, right? An emergency order that can't really, you question it. You question this emergency order, and Doc was responding to it. I see him trying to give me a call now. So we'll try and resolve it by the 5 o'clock mark, and hopefully he'll get on and we can continue the conversation. But this is one of those challenges we have here, where the emergency order talks about an issue that will be handled in Barbados, an issue that has come up with the advanced poll regarding the officiating officer in Barbados, right, where most of us didn't know that this happened. And that the competent authority can enact or amend an act, a law, without any parliamentary oversight, considering its challenges, right? So Doc is having some challenges here, and so we'll get that resolved for the 5 o'clock mark. But with that said, right, with this challenge that we have, you find yourself wondering if this is it, how far can we go? And if we don't have folks that can challenge this, then is it a position that this is allowed, that it is allowed that we can have the competent authority to amend acts and to issue decrees. Does anyone watch and I'm not calling that the prime minister tyrant. I don't want to go that far because I don't think that he is, right? But anyone ever watch that how to become a tyrant and Netflix? Seriously, no joke. First time I watched it was last night. They went through all of the megalomaniacs of then, right? And this was one of those things that happened in almost every one of these processes. How do you lambaste the press, change the level of education? How do you subvert information or do things by changing laws so that you can really override other entities? And I'm not saying that's am I saying that, but what I am concerned about is our response to it. Our response to it needs to be that, hold on, wait a minute, I need to know more. How is this possible? Come to the Bahamian people and say, because let me just throw it out flippantly as act that, hey, we amended a law, right? We amended a law, and not we, he did. I can amend the law just because it needs to be amended. No, I don't know. I don't like it. And what is going on in Barbados? If indeed quarantine is 3 days, what? Yeah, let me read this to y'all, right? And, I'm going to get Doc sorted out at the news break, so we don't even have to worry about that. So I have to read this for y'all again so you can understand what's going on. And Dr. Gilbert Morris will get him sorted out real quickly. But I need to read this for y'all so you can get it. For the purpose of the advanced poll to be held in Barbados on the 9th day of September 2021, right? For persons voting as overseas voters pursuant to Section 49A. For persons voting as overseas voters pursuant to Section 49A of the Parliamentary Elections Act, Chapter 7, the circumstances requiring the designated presiding officer to be quarantined in Barbados by the pandemic restrictions of that country and not available on that date shall be deemed to be circumstances beyond the control of the presiding officer, which make it impractical to take the poll on the designated date, right? So it's interesting, right? Because if you're quarantining here, okay, I see Doc, he's back. If you're quarantining here, you can't vote right now. But we're going to amend the whole act as the presiding officer is in quarantine. What a time. You'll catch that though? Right now, if you're quarantining, you can't vote. There's no allowances to that. But the presiding officer for the advanced poll, we're going to amend an entire act outside of what is common, outside of what is by law, what we're accustomed to, using your emergency powers. But there are no allowances in this emergency powers to ensure that Bahamians are allowed to vote if quarantine. That's interesting. I got Doc back. I see my good Dr. Gilbert Morris back. Doc?
Yes. I had this switch. Oh, dear God. Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
That doesn't sound very good.
Oh, you have it on probably at 2 places. So double check to see if you have it running 2 places so that we can make sure that we don't have feedback. All right.
It's telling me that right now.
Well, don't worry. We'll get it resolved. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's try it again.
This has just alerted me to my Luddite, my lack of technological prowess.
Someone says I need to watch 5 Steps to Tyranny. But let me ask you, because you were hitting on something pretty intense right before we go to break. Something where you were saying, hey, listen, we need to be able to challenge the Constitution, and challenging the Chief Justice's ability to challenge the veracity, or to not to challenge, but to challenge grounds based on the Constitution. What does that mean for us when you bring that up? So you can't hear me anymore?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can't hear you, but I imagine you've asked me to expand on what I was saying before. And my general point was
Let's take a break. Let's take a break and deal with all of this on the other side of the break. Let's
All
take a
right,
break.
so we were making 2 points. The first point was...
Hold on. We're going to take a break. When we come back, let's try and get Doc sorted out. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
You have to be strong in today's world. Keep your focus and what you believe in, how to achieve all your dreams. Keep moving forward, nothing who you are. Live your best life. Be strong and free. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
The following is a paid political advertisement.
Good morning, millionaire. It's me, Mario Woodside, the independent candidate for Nassau Village, a.k.a. Sasha. And I'm going to tell you like my mother told me, you shall know a tree by the fruit it bears. We have all seen the fruits of both parties in the past 20 years. So this election day, think independently. Think Mario Woodside for Nassau Village.
Paid for by Mario Woodside, independent candidate for Nassau Village.
Sugar, sugar, let's get a sugar ring. Softer, smoother, and amazing skin. Oh, sugar, sugar, we're the sugar ladies. Giving you skin soft as a baby's. Goodbye, hair, we'll take good care of you.
Come visit us at Bahar Retreat Spa on East Bay Street. Contact us at 323-6711 or visit us online at www.baharetreat.com.
Looking for a roomy SUV that's affordable? Take a look at the new Chevrolet Traverse. It seats up to 8 and is ranked best in class for cargo space. Its spacious interior design offers the latest features to keep you and your family entertained. What's more, you'll get up to a 5-year, 100,000-kilometer factory warranty along with Chevrolet's superior engineering and safety record. So, test drive the new Chevrolet Traverse today at Nassau Motor Company on Shirley Street, where standards are higher.
Hello, I'm Jermaine Kemp, a patient care assistant at Sunland Rehabilitation Center. I am one of many standing proudly on the front line of healthcare during the global COVID-19 pandemic, and I am vaccinated. I made a decision to get the AstraZeneca vaccine after attending information session. To learn more about it, I felt it was important to ensure that I did not spread the COVID-19 to my family, friends, and most importantly, my patients. My patients depend on me for their care, and I consider it a privilege to serve. I invite you to join me in keeping our clients, colleagues, and community safe by choosing to be vaccinated. We can do this, Bahamas. Together, we can beat COVID-19 one vaccination at a time.
This message has been brought to you by the Public Hospitals Authority and the Sandilands Rehabilitation Center.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back.
And we're back. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja, Black Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Was having some technical challenges trying to get Doc sorted out. Could save the planet, but can't get on a live stream. I don't know what to say about that. I don't know what to say about that. Doc, you're back. It's good to hear you.
Yes. Okay. Are we all good now?
We're all good. We're all good. It's good to hear from you.
I've got 2 laptops and an iPad and 2 phones here, and still
the challenges of technology, yeah. And so I have to ask you, because we were chatting really about that this whole idea of leadership and where we need to go post COVID. Let me let you finish your thoughts on that.
Well, I just think that we ought to have been very clever in the lead up to the government's policies on COVID, and beginning with the emergency powers. Somehow in the Bahamas, we have this attitude as if we read a section of the Constitution and we burst out with glee like, oh wow, this gives me a lot of power, I can do whatever I want. And constitutions don't work like that. The Bahamas Constitution means that whatever is happening, and this is the way I put it, it's going to drive some people crazy. Even if the second coming is the Constitution takes precedence.
Yes.
And that's what it is. That it shall be the supreme law of the land. No other law can conflict with the Constitution. And even where the Constitution provides that laws be made, so the emergency powers are not part of the Constitution. The Constitution gives allowance to generate emergency rules and laws, but those laws must be consistent with and subject to the Bahamas Constitution. You see?
Mm-hmm.
And to the extent that those laws in any way are inconsistent with the Constitution, those laws are null and void. So if there's no issue as to, of course you have to bring a court action, but this question, when we start to roll our eyes and go, oh, what are we to do? And so, no. The Constitution provides very clearly, it is the superior law of the land. Emergency powers do not supersede the Constitution. They do not restrict rights. They do not limit rights. They do not undermine rights. There's no way to limit or undermine a right. What the Constitution says is where there's circumstances in which the rights of the one or the few are stacked against the safety of the many, the government may take reasonable steps to cure that particular specific problem, all right, so that it restores the safety of the many.
The dame has been saying that you deal with those who are sick.
The emergency powers aren't a power to ramble all over the place and do things and like, oh, while we have these powers, let's make sure we do this and make sure we do that. And so, no. The reasonableness and relevance criteria when reading a constitution means that the government has, when it rolls out the emergency powers, those powers must be reasonable, which means there must be a way to assess them, not by the competent authority. Because the competent authority cannot be a judge in his own court. He cannot say the rules are reasonable.
But we have amended acts now. We can amend acts.
Well, to the extent that it gives any power to undermine rights without clear reasons, and to the extent that it gives a blanket power, it is completely unconstitutional because it must be specific. To the extent that it gives this blanket power without a definite timeline, and a timeline that's tied to the reasonableness of the thing which they're trying to achieve, it's unconstitutional. And the way to have dealt with this, some Bahamians have this habit of saying, look, You could talk about the Constitution all you want to. We have a crisis and we need to get things done. We can't be worried about lawyers talking about law. This is an idiot's attitude, a complete prancing idiot. Because and I'm sorry to put it, well, actually, I'm not sorry to put it that way, but the point that I'm making is when you live in a constitutional democracy, the Constitution can't be a convenience or window dressing for when everything is going well. It is just when it looks like we need to get around the Constitution that you're supposed to be a constitutionalist. In this crisis, the most important thing is not COVID safety. The most important thing is citizenship and constitutional integrity. Because what are you saving the country for if not to continue to be a democracy? You can't undermine democracy and undermine constitutional propriety in order to save a country to be what afterwards? When everybody will now find reasons to undermine the Constitution.
That's a word, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you can't have that. That's number one. And the way to have gotten around that was to appoint an ombudsman committee, which is provided for in the Constitution, and then to appoint all these young people at the law school, 100 or so that they are doing the research, analyzing every decision of the competent authority, being guided by their professors, writing papers. And what are you doing? You're enriching the democracy of the society, and you're using a crisis to broaden the deeper understanding, and you're protecting the future, the constitutional democratic future of the country by allowing those young people to participate. And before we left, I said to you that Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, John Kerry, all these people who are now leaders and have been leaders, they all worked on Watergate. They were those young law students doing the research on Watergate. Now, our attitude to power is, I in charge, right? So it's a complete plantation, slave, capo attitude towards power. But constitutional democracies don't work like that. They don't work like that. The power is never yours. It's the Constitution's. And the power is always to advance the causes of democracy. Bahamians have to learn. You have to care about something on the basis of principle in order to be practical. You can't just come talk about practical talk. Practicality over the last 48 years is what's got us a $10 billion a debt equal to GDP. Because we don't adhere to principles. Principles. So principles are fundamentally important in this space, including the younger generation, so that you lengthen and deepen the understanding of the Constitution is important. And I repeat, you have a Chief Justice whose natural instinct is not to protect the Constitution, because he's never in his career chosen to take a case or a matter that was a constitution. So Maurice Clinton, for instance, if there's a union that the government's union workers and the government does something to them, or they use national insurance inappropriately, or a government institution denies a right to, he forms a case and brings that case to court on a constitutional basis to protect the Constitution. When I was working in Canada, in the financial services regulations, we sued the Attorney General of Canada. He called us up and said, hey, you're suing me on these 4 pieces of legislation. Sue me on these 4 as well, so we can get a court declaration on the whole thing one time. In the Bahamas, the ministers act like you're doing something to them personally.
Yes.
Man, why are you suing me? You, who's got any time with you? It's the Constitution and the rules. We're suing on that basis. You should want to know what your courts have to say about the legislation you have passed and whether that legislation is consistent with the Constitution. Whether or not you personally are right is irrelevant to the history of the world and to most pets. You can't sit there insisting on yourself at the risk of the Constitution itself. So that's a big, big issue. Now, when it comes to so yesterday we talked about what we have to do. Any woman coming to power has to have a solution to the COVID health management issue. And I laid out what that solution should be. Spot and universal testing upregulated to a database, creating heat maps all over the country so you can see from data, pattern and flow, where breakouts are likely to happen. Because if we're waiting for people to come to the hospital and say, I'm sick, they had 10 days to infect a bunch of other people.
That's right.
If you have lockdowns, I call that the dead granny strategy, because you're locking people in with granny and you don't know whether those people are infected. When you are dealing with a disease that has exponential spread, has super spreaders and asymptomatic, you count on by people presenting themselves. You need something that is predictive. And that predictive platform is a dynamic live data platform. And the only way you can get it is by getting 1.6 million tests and testing every Bahamian 4 times in 10 weeks.
Say that again. Say that again, Doc. 1 point what?
You need 1.6 million tests. And you must test every Bahamian 4 times in the space of 10 weeks.
Wow.
And what that will do is it will create a pattern. You'll see a data pattern. And when that data pattern tells you, every social phenomena produces what is called pattern and flow. Pattern is the look, the shape of the thing. The flow is its speed, its pace. If you're making decisions and you don't know the pattern and the flow, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. All right? That's number one. Number two, once you have that pattern and flow, it shows you where to send your medical staff, where to send your testing team. Because you have Bluetooth contact tracing, you have contact tracing at the speed of light. So the contact tracing is moving at the speed of the infection. So now the data system that you put in place has put you in a proper decision-making mode. Make decisions. So what we're looking for is alignment and coordination. These are 2 words that are very important in all policy. Alignment is the natural formation of a thing. This is the alignment. When you look at how it works, and you say, now, how do I coordinate on top of that alignment? And when you do this in epidemiology, in social demographics, in economics and econometrics, and so on, what you're trying to do when you're using data and you're trying to get what is called a proportionality constant. You want, at one point, the data lags behind the population, then at another point, the data will jump ahead of the population. And now that margin is where you're making decisions. So you have the population behavior matches each other. You can make real-time decisions. So if I don't care what policies they have, they're going to rain gold down from the heavens to every Bahamian. You're going to have $100,000 meal every morning. But whatever the policy is, none of it works unless you solve the public health problem. Another reason why the ombudsman process is necessary. The ombudsman process gives you transparency, efficiency of decisions. Solving the COVID crisis protects Bahamians and develops a technology platform. But here's the thing out of that. So, number one, is transparency, efficiency, and accountability with the emergency powers. That's number one. Number two is establishing the data platform from testing and spot and random testing. That's number two. And number three, Nahaja, is when you do that, the technologies that you roll out to do that, they are actually the technologies that are necessary for e-government. So you're not just solving the pandemic decision-making crisis, the time scale for decision-making, you're actually inventing a new Bahamian future. Because those technologies are needed for testing. Because now that you have the mapping technology for testing, you also have the mapping technology for a wide variety of things in the population. Now, the reason why the Ombudsman Committee, number one, is important with the research done by the students is that Bluetooth contact tracing, any form of tracing, any form of digital ID, any one of these things raises constitutional questions, and they should be examined in that group. Because you don't want to come through the crisis, use all this technology, and never develop a set of rules to set that technology within its constitutional framework.
Let me ask you this question here, Doc, because if you're just tuning in, Dr. Gilbert Morris, and of course, please forgive, we are having some technical challenges with what is being shared with us. We're having some static, and that's just how life is. But, and I want to ask you a question as well. Let's get to the caller first, so I'll ask my question afterwards. Caller, you're on the hit back. Welcome.
Hi, you. And good. Dr. Morris, I have a question. With all the political parties and the government party that's in power vying for, to run the country within the next 16 to 17 days, how important is foreign relationship as it relates to their manifesto? For example, how are you going to create it, and how could you work with countries that share your interest to advance the Bahamas? For example, let's say China would work with the Bahamas with agriculture and probably give funding on our trade. And then the U.S., how could we do training or lowering companies to come here to decrease unemployment? How important is foreign affairs to this aspect, this whole thing? Nobody's talking about it.
Thank you so much. Let me let Doc respond to that. Doc?
Can you give me a frame of the question again? I heard, can you give me a frame of it, Nahaja?
Yeah. So what he asked was how important is foreign relations, foreign affairs with regards to, in terms of, brokering deals and helping with jobs. How important is foreign relations? And, we've talked on this many times. And so I think that this is, let me let you answer. Go ahead.
Well, that's very important because, and this is why another government that that I drafted what is called a continuity of government protocol. And that is, before the elections, the two parties sit down, they designate people, and they identify 2 or 3 main issues that should survive the change in government, if there is one. And they provide documents, and they agree that they will not use it to generate publicity for themselves and so on. And this is a continuity of government protocol to ensure that these important policy options continue, even though there may be a change in government. This is a very, very important process. On the substantive point, with these last couple of persons, I had written the last letters went out on Friday to the 190 governments of the world, proposing that we use the Expo in Dubai in the next 2 months as a global summit on COVID-19, because there has not been a global meeting, official global meeting of governments. And now you have 190 governments that are registered to participate in Dubai. And it would be interesting to me if they would consider a number of things. A global protocol on health as identity. So you're not going from country to country to country and having different health protocols for individuals. An agreement on the use of EID, and the European Union already has that with its GDPR data protection program. So you could expand that and make that work. Number 3, that we get tests to everybody. So across the world, we need 100 billion tests, right? We need 100 billion tests across the world. So we should be investing in testing technology. We should be investing in home testing kits. We should be investing in testing pencils. We should be investing in all these sorts of things. And the world needs to do that. Number 4, we need a $4 trillion global stimulus to get countries out of the financial doldrums that they're facing. So there's no reason why the Bahamas can't be the one to propose that in foreign policy terms. No reason.
Dr. Gilbert Morris, Doc, I'm really disappointed that our audio has been freaking out a bit today, but we have to do this. And I hate COVID for one thing. It really interferes with face-to-face interviews, I'll tell you that. So hopefully before, all of this wraps up in terms of election time, I get, because I'm telling you, folks have been waiting all day for this, and I'm disappointed that our audio was a bit rich, and then they definitely got what you were saying, and because of that, we've lost some time. So we have to do this again. We're gonna do this probably after elections. Hold on, let me unmute you. Say your thoughts there.
Wherever I am, I'm headed up to DC for actually a really important summit that has global implications, I think. And so even if I'm up there, you let me know, and I'll take some time to come and sit and chat with you.
I love you, Doc. You're my people. Professor Gilbert Morris, thanks so much, Doc. I appreciate you. All right. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Listen, one of my all-time favorite people. Unfortunately, we had some technical issues, but the content was rich, especially when he started to hit on the Constitution. People of principle, right? People of principle. We'll be back. I've got a special guest joining us, Mario Woodside, independent candidate for Nassau Village. I'm very much looking forward to hearing why this young man has decided that he is going to take this walk on these uncharted roads, yes, if for his constituency of Nassau Village, definitely as a Bahamian people, be thinking independent in this election. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM.
When I got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
Hello, Bahamas. My name is Dr. Dwayne Sands. I was born and raised in Centerville, in the heart of the valley, Nassau, Bahamas. I'm a proud Bahamian. I've been fortunate to represent the great people of Elizabeth for the last 5 years. It has always been my dream to serve my country, and I have been involved in the political process on the front line since 2009. I am very, very proud of the support of my family, who have been with me from the beginning and who are still with me to this day. In particular, and all of my children, and actually there's quite a few of them. I'm actually a cardiovascular surgeon. What that means is I take on the sickest people with the biggest problems every day. And so for me, the political process to deal with the challenges is pretty much par for the course. It's what I do every day. I am happy to be a part of the great team of the Free National Movement of Dr. Hubert Minnis. We are indeed Elizabeth Strong.
This has been a paid political announcement by the F&M candidate for Elizabeth.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Someone just sent something with regard to quarantines and vaccinations in Barbados before I get to my guest, and I think it's very interesting. If you're fully vaccinated, technically you're only quarantining 1 to 2 days after the PCR test when you land. So when you get to, before you even go to Barbados, you need to get a PCR test, COVID-19 PCR test 3 days prior to travel. Then when you land in Barbados, you have to get a second COVID test on arrival at the airport. And then you are in quarantine for 2 days, right? If you are not vaccinated, then you have to wait 5 days, so on arrival, 5 days after travel, and then approximately 7 days after. So that's interesting. Bang, 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 bang. So very interesting. And that asks the question, why exactly are we changing, amending laws for a officiant who is quarantined? Amending laws already when there's no parliament, right? But for an officiant who will be in quarantine in Barbados to do the advanced poll, and so we're going to do the advanced polling, giving room for a day after the date of the advanced poll, September 9th. Got tons of questions. Ain't nobody answering us. And probably when we ask it, when we try to ask it. We've got joining me, though, Mario Woodside, independent candidate for Nassau Village. Mario, welcome to the show.
And I appreciate you giving me the time to talk, man. You okay?
Man, I'm blessed, man. It's so good to have an independent candidate on the show, and not just from anywhere, man. You are representing Nassau Village. Mario, first and foremost, tell folks a bit about yourself. Who is Mario Woodside?
Well, some people know me, but most people know me as Mario Woodside. Some people know me as Sasha Dutt. And the reason why I put that in there because it all culminates to one single individual, you know what I'm saying? Mario Woodside, I've been in the Nassau Village community for like almost close to 18 years now. When I was 21, I started my business on Soldier Road, which was Woodside Photoshop and Gallery. And just from that business, being Soldier Road and being a part of the Nassau Village community, I've met tens and thousands of people in the Nassau Village community, and just heard their woes and their cries, and seeing how consecutive governments back to back have never truly addressed the true issues inside Nassau Village. It seems everybody wants to get in power and, as they say, get a hold of the cookie jar. You know what I'm saying? And when they get a hold of the cookie jar, it's a very sick idea that we have a country being run by almost kleptomaniacs almost. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So there's like a kleptocracy we're living in. So it's been crazy to witness. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So now I guess the reason why I'm running now is because in my lowest point in life, a state of depression I was in after my mother passed away last year in October 9th, a vision was sent to me by God, which was I was inside Parliament passing a bill for true government transparency, where we as Bahamians can actually go on our phone and see which contract is going where and who it's going to. And when it happened to me at that point in time, it was bizarre to me because my mind was nowhere near politics, wasn't even thinking about it. Press, just crying every day. But that vision was sent to me, and that vision has been powering my spirit ever since. Like a friend of mine just spoke to me a minute ago. He's like, "How are you so strong after losing 3 family members to COVID?" You know what I'm saying? Like how are you so? I'm like, because this vision came to me and it empowers me every day. You know what I'm saying? So forward, you know what I'm saying? In that vein, just to bring forward that vision, because honestly, if we cannot plug these holes in our boat that is our country, the boat can sink, bro. The boat really. And it seems like we have the wealth, but the wealth is not being distributed in the correct way to the right people and to the right causes. So until we fix that problem, we're going to be a sinking ship till we hit the bottom of the ocean. You know
Mario Woodside, independent for Nassau Village. You know, for me, it's so refreshing, Mario, because I see you right within the community. You are coming as Mario Woodside, not Mario as and Sasha Dunn. You are not with any colors or coat. What made you decide independent? Why not join up with another group? What made you decide that this was the route?
Because politics was I never looked at politics as the answer to the problems of the community. Because I always saw that the problems of the community is we lack a community. So I was trying to approach it from the outside, but I realized more and more every time I try to approach it from the outside. Like take for instance, I was trying to run a English to Creole class and vice versa, and I was trying to run that inside a certain party's community center, and that didn't work out because they had to focus more on rallies and meetings and stuff like that as opposed to the actual community itself. I was actually running the classes out of my store until I couldn't do it anymore, you know what I'm saying? Because it was a security hazard. So I realized rather than me having to go ask this person to do this and ask this person to do that, why don't I just become that person I need to ask and just do it? Mm-hmm. You feel what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because, like I said, the Nassau Village has a lot of issues, but to me, these are very simple issues that can be fixed. You know what I'm saying? Like the drainage issue, the drainage issue. There's constantly flooding in the community. Those issues are easy to be fixed once we get the right engineers and the right people to look at the issue and solve it. But we have to first have the goal to do that. And I feel with both parties, they're not going to solve it. Reason being, both parties have to follow the party's agenda first before they deal with the people's agenda. See, me as an independent candidate, people always, if you get in as an independent candidate, you won't have no power. But the one thing I keep telling them is, look at the people who had power. Did they truly make any change? You know what I'm saying? Look at the house. And we still didn't see no change in Nassau Village. So my group is with me being an independent candidate, my sole goal is to have a myopic tunnel vision, just totally dealing with Nassau Village and the issues of Nassau Village. Because we can't say we want a better nation if we can't fix the smallest part of our nation and get it right. You feel what I'm saying?
I feel you. Mario, you got me to say amen, my brother. All right. So now with this walk, this is the thing with the community or the constituency of Nassau Village, right? The constituency of Nassau Village is different subdivisions altogether. For these different subsets of people within the constituency of Nassau Village, what have you heard from your constituents, from your prospective constituents on the things that they need?
Well, each sector has like different needs. But the one constant one is the drainage issue. The drainage issue is a very, whether you inside the Seabreeze version, the Seabreeze part of Nassau Village constituency, or you're inside the Nassau Village proper, or on Soldier Road, when a little bit of rain comes down, the place starts to flood. So we need to fix that ASAP. That has to be fixed ASAP. Beyond that, you then have the basic need of employment and empowerment. Now, with that, we can deal with that as a community. But my ultimate goal is to try and bring both sides, the high and the low, and the mid in betweens, to try to bring us all together. Because until Nassau Village sees itself as a single community, like Long Island or Exuma can see themselves as a small community and small knit communities, we won't make it that far. Because if those high up looking down at those down on them, we're not cohesive. So the whole goal is to try to bring the community together, and I'm working on that with an organization called the Family Tree. The goal of the Family Tree is just like a seed. Once we plant that seed in the community, the roots are going to pull the community together, individual by individual. And once we all share a common goal, we can move mountains at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you, someone asked a question here, Mario says, positive mindset, but how will you negotiate change and influence the controlling parties to give your community what it needs? The power wheeling is real.
Well, the power wheeling is real is just knowing how to deal with humans. Because at the end of the day, we just dealing with humans, like we dealing with aliens. You know what I'm saying? It's just that there's a matter of knowing how to sit down and talk with men and find a common goal. Yes, we may not the party I may not be a part of the ruling party, but Nahaja, to be honest with you, I feel like the ruling party is not going to be the standard as we see it. Like the standard where one party wins the majority and then they're in power. Mm-hmm. I don't think this election is going to go that way in any way or form. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
And with the government headed towards a coalition government, when I say coalition, I'm not necessarily meaning Lincoln being them. I'm just saying a true coalition, because I feel the people in the Bahamas truly want change. No joke, no clowning, no faking, no pump faking. They truly want change. Yeah, you have those who are old school and still thinking in that tribalism way of thinking of yellow and red. But anyone under 35, anyone under 30, you talk to them right now, they tell you they're not concerned with PLP or F&M.
That's right.
And even with these big motorcades that they're posturing with, that's just the old guard showing their tail off. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is, those who truly care about this country, people are going into the booth, and it's like men and women to make the right decision inside the booth. And Lord willing, we're going to see a real change in this country in the next upcoming election. We've seen 20 years of PLP and F&M back and forward, but we've not seen any progress, truly. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I know the people now are ready to change. You know what I'm saying? They're ready.
Listen, and someone's saying real talk, change is coming. No more oppressive leaders. And I want to ask you this, because you're a businessman, right?
That's right?
And I think that's a part of the community, and you reflect the majority of commerce in this country, where small businessmen and women, and you shared something that you've been touched with COVID, your family, and you've lost 3 family members, and condolences on your loss, my brother. I can't imagine, and this time is rough for a lot of people, so my condolences to you. With all of that in mind, I know this past 18 months has been different for you. They've hit different for you. How does this reality of your life, when you look at business, when you look as a family man, your wife and children, and then you look at as a son who's lost a mother, how do those situations or circumstances, how have they shaped your viewpoint of what is necessary for change?
Well, the way I look at the timeline now is we have BC, which is before COVID, and after COVID. And in the timeline after COVID, life is way more serious than more serious than ever. Like I can't you can't look at anything in a lackadaisical way anymore. Like, oh, I might get a chance tomorrow to do this, or I might get a chance to next week to do it. No, everything is right now. Is either we doing this right now or we can't do this. You know what I'm saying? So and the way it shaped my mind is the serious life is. I mean, I always looked at life in a very serious way, but then now it's as serious as a heart attack right now. You know what I'm saying? So my view is we have to get change now. We can't wait till tomorrow for change. We can't wait till we can't be lost by any kind of sweet words like a new day or the people time. We can't be swayed by these things right now, people. We have to focus our minds like a laser precipice of tomorrow and nothingness. I mean, I don't know if people realize that, because and I state this more and more. Like, take for instance, I once was a person that truly believed inside the PLP motto and idea, but then when I truly look at the way these guys are operating, they're not operating under the guise of for periodically. These guys get in power. The first goal they have is going to drill for oil, and we don't have to guess if that's going to affect our country in a negative or positive way. We just look at Ghana and see what happened to Ghana when they drilled for oil off the coast of Ghana. When they drill for all the fish gone, all. You know what I'm saying? Like they killed the fish. The only thing you catch in Ghana right now is like seaweed, because the minute you start drilling, the sediment starts to rise up, and you start to change the whole ecology of the water. And if we lose our fish and our coral, because these cruise ships alone are destroying our coral reefs alone. So you add that on top of that, we're losing the gift that God gave us in hopes to win a couple dollars that won't even come to us. You feel what I'm saying? Because I can't live on a promise that, oh, once we hit this oil, we're going to be millionaires. We have our number one industry right now, which is tourism. Are we millionaires?
No.
You know what I'm saying? So I can't see any change coming from that unless we start making change with what we have right now. So that's I mean, just to sum it all up, I mean, I hate to keep using this word over and over and over, which is change, but we have to change because we can't keep doing the exact same thing and expecting some kind of different results because it's never going to happen. You know what I'm saying? And as we can see with these people, with both parties, they're bringing back the same characters, if not the same characters, the same spirit. Because you would see a new candidate, but that candidate embodies a spirit and an idea, which is almost like a clone. You know what I'm saying? You'd be like, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like watching a clone, and you'd be like, what? Really? But yeah, it's the main thing I'm going for is change, and the change is generally just for us to go back a bit. Like when I say go back to the days when we worried about our neighbor next door, when we know our neighbor next door, when we were invested into our neighbors' well-being. Because unless we get to that point, we're just a bunch of individuals living in a country, and it's going to be a cowboy town because every cowboy won't be the top cowboy, is he?
Yeah. Mario Woodside, Sasha Dunn, independent candidate for Nassau Village. Mario, you have a chance to speak to your constituents, right? And, you know, one of the questions that I've asked almost every MP and everyone vying, right, is that, you know, you get a fixed budget, $100,000. They come in tranches of 25,000, so four tranches, right, of those funds. And that's not a lot when you're talking about an entire constituency. And that's I think it is?
No,
you think so?
Yeah, no. Because the way my mind works, you got to forgive me because me being a business mind, I have to make the most happen with every single dollar that comes in. And for me to see $25,000 to go towards our community, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that we can invest into the community. And once invested correctly, we're going to see 10 times the yield and return. You know what I'm saying? Because because once we have that, we can set up our community center and set up a tactical community center that's not just for face value or just to show and take some camera pictures for a photo op. It's literally a community center that's going to go out into the community and find people, talk to the people, find the skills, put together a skill database so we can actually know how like who has what skill inside the community. And once we know the skill database, we can know where to invest our time and our efforts. You know what I'm saying? Because if we have over 30 doctors, we don't need, over 10, like 100 doctors, we don't need more doctors. We probably need more, you know what I'm saying? So, and then we know how to properly utilize the people. And with that $25,000, even if once it's invested into the community center, and the community center is, we set up our water company inside the community center, and we're selling water at a reduced cost just for the community itself. That's a way to get everything started, because that $25,000 to me that's just like seed money to start something great. You know what I'm saying? Because the organization I'm trying to start right now, I've already started, called the Family Tree. The goal of the Family Tree is, like I say, just to make once planted into the community, the roots are going to pull the people together, the trunk is going to hold us firm together, and we're going to thrive together. Because and we're going to bear fruits that the community now can now eat from. You know what I'm saying? And then give shade to the community. And once we've successfully done this inside Nassau Village, we can replicate this in every single community inside the Bahamas. Instead of having this one single tree, we have a forest. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We have a forest now where there's something inside the community that empowers the people. Because the problem is we have too many things and too many individuals and too many establishments in our community that are just basically bloodsuckers. They don't empower the people. They don't give nothing to their community. They're just there to take, and never give nothing. You know what I'm saying? But if we are actually in the community and empowering the people, changing their mindsets and showing them that they have an option, because that, and I'm realizing that is the greatest thing right there. A lot of our people don't realize how many options they have, because we've been trained and programmed to think that, oh, everything has to be get a job. But the one thing I always tell people is this. I give them a quote from John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller said, "Be careful not to work too much, because you may forget how to make money."
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
I love it.
So if we could get our people to instead of just trading their time for money, we now train them to become owners and to really take part in this race that is happening around us. then you will start to see real change in this country. And in the space of like probably 20 to 30 years, we'll experience a golden age. And I honestly believe that, because I honestly believe in people. I believe in our people, because I believe we're some of the most talented people on this planet. I mean, you know what I'm saying? The first black man to ever win an Oscar was a Bahamian. I mean, just yesterday, we saw the death of a really great Bahamian actor, in the form of Michael K. Williams. You know what I'm saying? So it isn't that we don't have the talent and the intelligence. Most of us just don't have the opportunities to display our talents and our skills. You know what I'm saying? So my goal is to help the people to get to the level that they need to be, to try to be a catalyst, to try to bring about some change. Because and once again, I go back to that same word, change, because we need change, sorely need change. And I apologize for talking so much.
No, because I mean, I'm just so excited. This is, for me, I mean, I won't lie to you, Mario. First of all, again, don't forget that name, everyone. Mario Woodside. Sasha Dunn, by the way. Mario, okay, you got to help me. Sasha Dunn. You know, forgive me.
Well, Sasha Dunn. See, my whole life, I'll be honest with you, it may be because of my cancer. I was born in the 7th month. God has been leading my life to God from a child. And my mother, Elizabeth, she, from when I was a child, she had me reading like the books of the Bible. I had to learn the books of the Bible from Genesis to Revelations, down to Revelations, you know what I'm saying? And read it all over and over and over and over. And so it made me super religious, you know what I'm saying? And in my 20s, in my latter 20s, this voice just came to me and said, "You are Sasha." It may sound bizarre to me. I was like, what? And I went to I think it was on my 28th birthday. I actually went to my sister's, my 27th birthday. I went to my sisters and my friends around me, my associates, and I say, "Y'all gotta start calling me Sasha now, bro." And when I Googled it, Sasha's actually Russian for Alexander. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, I'll roll with it. And like I tell you, because my relationship with God is so unique, I guess, or so tightly woven, that I'm not ashamed to look silly in front of in the world, but I know I'm staying true to what God told me. You know what I'm saying? And just following him down that rabbit hole has brought me to this point. And and trust me, sis, I don't feel like I'm off in any way, because right now I'm at war with Goliaths all around me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm slaying them all. And I'm slaying every single one, you know what I'm saying? And Lord willing, come election day, when y'all see Mario Woodside, Sasha Dunn wins, please do not attribute that to me in any way. Do not attribute that win to me. Attribute that win to God. You know what I'm saying? Because that one is going to be for God, and this is for God. And that's why that's why I'm here right now talking to you. Not because I want to be here talking about the community and all that stuff. It's because God needs to come in this vein and talk to the people and lead the people to where He needs them to be. Because, like I say, we are a precious little country. I mean, and it's like I don't think we realize how precious we are. The bluest point on this planet, the most aquamarine point on this planet, is us.
That's right.
You feel what I'm saying?
That's right.
So, and the fact that there's only 400,000 Bahamians show you that we are a rare commodity in this world. So we are blessed people, but we have those amongst us who are trying to trodden down the people, and God and trust me, the smell of the corruption has now reached God's nose. So now He has to act and change. Because think about it. Look at this election cycle. Have you ever seen an election cycle like this? Where where all the strengths that the big parties would naturally have, God has chopped them down. And then to where myself, to me, we're on equal playing field right now. So now it's a matter of choosing between characters right now. Like the Bible says, you shall know them by the fruit they bear. So when you compare the characters now, and you compare the work that people have put in, you're going to see the difference. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say, I know that's a long explanation to say why I'm named Sasha, but it's God, bro. That's all I can say. It's God, sis.
Mario Woodside, Sasha Dunn, running for the Nassau Village constituency. I want you all to remember this name. If you are in Nassau Village, remember this name. You know, I'm not supposed to be biased. Anyway, Mario Woodside, I wish you all the best, my brother. And I think you've really done a wonderful job.
My goal is just to inspire the people for change, and that we do better.
Thank Mario. All the best. Mario Woodside, y'all. Remember that. Mario Woodside.
Thank
Woodside.
You guys, and I appreciate it. And I would like to thank everybody in advance who's going to the advance polls and everybody who's going to go to the polls and vote for Mario Woodside. I thank you guys. And the next thing is this, and for those who are not in Nassau Village, the one thing I'd say is pray and let God compel the hearts of men to do the right thing on this election day.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you. Mario Woodside, everyone, Nassau Village. Just don't forget, pay attention. We'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM.